Who would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Jeremy, would you mind?
Sure. Stand and face the flag, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to have invocation by Chris Spitoff from Club Zion. Good evening. Let us pray.
Dear Lord, I invite you into this meeting here this evening. I thank you for all the people that have gathered here together in unity, and I just pray for your order and your sovereignty to be with this meeting. I pray for the commissioners, Lord, and the mayor and the assistant mayor, and all of the city's employees, all the civil servants, Lord. I just pray for all the hands that come together to make this community what it is. I pray for wisdom, pray for strength and unity and good leadership to all those that make this community function and thrive. And Lord, I just acknowledge you as being supreme over all of these things, all the matters that will be discussed here tonight. I just pray that we can be decent and civil with each other and ultimately resolve any conflicts, recognizing that you are supreme over all things. I pray all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. Okay, I have a proclamation, and I will read this here. This is for Irish Heritage Month. Please bear with me, I misplaced my glasses. Whereas by 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationals had immigrated to the American colonies and played a crucial role in America's war for independence, and whereas 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were of Irish descent and 3 signers were Irish-born, and whereas Irish Americans helped to fashion a system of government for our young nation, and whereas 22 presidents have proudly proclaimed their Irish American heritage, and whereas in 1792, Irish-born James Hoban provided architectural plans for the White House and served as one of the supervising architects for the construction of the Capitol. And whereas Irish-born Commodore John Barry was recognized by the United States Congress in September of 2002, and the first flag officer of the United States Navy, and whereas Commodore John Barry fought the last sea battle of the American Revolution off the coast of Florida, and whereas in 1813, Captain Oliver Perry, an Irish-American, achieved a major naval victory in the Battle of Lake Erie, and whereas in 1942, the 5 Sullivan brothers made the ultimate sacrifice for democracy and freedom during the naval battle of Guadalcanal, and later had the destroyer USS Sullivan commissioned in their memory. And whereas the Irish first came to Spanish La Florida in the 1500s, first as missionaries and mercenary soldiers, and then as planters, traders, businessmen, doctors, and administrators. And whereas 3 of the Spanish governors of La Florida were actually Irish military officers, and whereas Richard Arthur, an Irish-born priest from Limerick, who was appointed parish priest for St. Augustine in 1597, and judge of La Florida, established the first public school in America and opened it to both boys and girls of all races. And whereas Andrew Jackson, whose family came from country Antrim, served as Florida's military governor following its acquisition by the United States. And whereas Irish Americans, since America's inception, have provided and continue to provide leadership and service to this nation's political, business, and religious establishments. And whereas it is fitting and proper to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and the many valuable contributions of Irish Americans. Now, therefore, I, Keith Capizzi, Mayor of the City of Cocoa Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Irish American Heritage Month in the City of Cocoa Beach and urge all citizens to join me in honoring those Americans who gave their lives in securing the blessings of our liberty. I'm Irish in me too.
He's going to come up. You asked him to come up?
Yeah, would you like to come up and I can present this to you? Appreciate it.
Very nice.
You want to say a few words?
If I could.
Yeah, sure. Go to this podium there.
I promise I'll be short.
It's okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Reynolds. I am the Vice President of the Ancient Order of Hibernians in the state of Florida. I also have the honor of being the Grand Marshal at the Melbourne St. Patrick's Day Parade this year down in downtown Melbourne on the 16th. On behalf of the Irish American community in Florida, I would like to express my gratitude for your kindness and consideration in designating March as Irish American Heritage Month. This proclamation will coincide with festivities that we are currently underway as Irish Americans once again gather and celebrate their heritage throughout the state of Florida. During the month of March, Irish Floridians proudly reflect their legacy of their Irish forebears who have contributed significantly to the areas of education, business, sports, leisure, science, engineering, medicine, law enforcement like myself, and the arts. These are some of the contributions that we have made not only by the Irish, but also by many ethnic and racial groups who have come to the United States from the four corners of the world and who have assisted in developing this great country of ours. As the Vice President of the Ancient Order of Hibernians, which is the oldest and largest Irish organization in the world, I would like to acknowledge the esteemed honor that Mayor Capizzi and the City Commissioners have bestowed upon us, and thank you all very much, and have a happy and blessed St. Patrick's Day on the 17th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Attorney?
Okay, special presentations, item 2, acknowledge Ground Zero and Surfing's Evolution and Preservation Foundation for their donation of funds to purchase a new RWC rescue watercraft and trailer to the City of Cocoa Beach Fire Department. Representative Justin Grimes, Deputy Fire Chief.
Good evening, Justin Grimes, Deputy Fire Chief. I'm bringing Wyatt up here today because I would like to thank Wyatt and Ground Zero for getting us the funds to purchase a new rescue watercraft. As you can see, it's out there if any of you guys passed it on the way. I think all of you know, living next to the ocean, that one of our largest assets is also one of our most dangerous, and the need to have a rescue watercraft like this at a higher level and new that runs and all those type of things are just really, really important for us. So I'm going to turn this over to Wyatt since he was the one that really made it happen, and thank him. So,
All right. Mayor, commissioners, city manager, staff, I'm honored to be here. If you guys remember 7 years ago, can you believe it? We sat here, we asked you guys or presented the Ground Zero project, and if it hadn't been for the Rotary Club and all the political stuff that they helped fight us, we wouldn't be where we're at. And we're very proud and honored to be able not only to save lives in the community, but also with the support that we've gained over the 7 years through donations and our stations being up for adoption. And by the way, we have about 40 stations up for adoption in Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral. Anyone wants to adopt, business, individual, family. We also have some memorials. as well as we just take straight up donations. That's gotten us where we're at. And it's been the Surfing's Evolution Preservation Foundation, who go way back in the beginning, who helped us fund and help start along with COCO's, the very first stations. They helped us fund them. Through the process of the donations, some educational outreach we've been doing, the Surfing Evolution Foundation took a look at us and said, man, you guys are doing great. And they partnered with us, and they're helping us now, and they put us in a position to where we can present a check to the fire department to take care of this ski out here. So it's important that we have the proper trained individuals, lifeguards being that as well. The fire department guys, every one of them are pretty much watermen and trained. They have a USLA certification, and I think that jet ski is going to help them, support that and be a force multiplier. And I'm honored that I'm able to do that, and thank you guys for allowing me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wyatt. And yeah, we are a USLA certified and advanced open water lifeguard agency, as well as a aquatic rapid response team. So having those things along with this jet ski just make us more capable. We do assist and work out there alongside the lifeguards, and especially after hours and morning and evening on those busy days. So this is a huge help, so thank you.
Awesome. And I might add, the rings last year we have documented over 26 rescues in the Cocoa Beach area, and we had 9 this year already.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So thanks for having the project.
Wyatt, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if this is still going to be out here by the time the meeting's over, but the jet ski's parked out front. It's pretty awesome looking. Let's see. Can we get approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Got a motion and a second?
Mayor, I'd like to pull, I don't know if it's at this one or H2, just to have more discussion when we get to the consent.
Well, you got to pull it now.
H2.
H2. All right.
So the amended motion would be to approve the agenda minus consent agenda item H2 and move it to items removed from the consent agenda.
He was saying that we'll approve the agenda, we're going to pull H2, so he wants to make a motion to approve all items except for H2 removed for consent.
H2 moves to I1.
Yeah. I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Let's see here. We got any public comments about items that are not on the agenda? Oh, here we go. John Dillon.
I'm John Dillon, live on East Osceola. Back in July the 16th, I gave this petition for y'all to get some speed bumps put on our street. It was a request for 30 days. We give information, parts, labor, everything what it costs to do that. We've heard nothing from that. One of the gentlemen lives on Esther, and he was at one of the city manager meetings at this building several months ago, and said that they talked about that. And they, yeah, we're working on the East Osceola for that. Heard nothing from this. That street is where all the Airbnb people comes across from A1A to the beach. The speed limit's 20 miles an hour. In fact, the police department have a radar there for several days, and then that's been the last we've heard of anything since July last year. We have Airbnb people from all ages, from kids with a stroller to old folks even older than I am. And these speed limits 20 miles an hour, they ignore that. We have buses going through our street the last few weeks now. Buses should not be on our street to start off with. That's residential streets, not for that. I need no idea what bus line that was. Anyway, the point is, what's happened with this? We gave it to you 7 months ago, and nothing's been done. What I'm trying to do is to lower the risk to the city. It's a liability. If y'all don't understand that, I don't know what to do with y'all. I really don't. We're trying to prevent people from getting injured or killed. That's something the city needs to work on now. So again, I'll give you the copy of this petition. It's still, I'm sure it's still in the court's file for that also, with all the attachments for that also. Got any kind of questions? I'll help you all do anything to do that.
Thank you, John. Ryan McDuffie.
Good evening. My name is Ryan McDuffie. First and foremost, thank you guys for your service. Appreciate your, your service to the community in the city of Cocoa Beach. I'm a real estate broker out of Satellite Beach with RLL Real Estate Group. We manage the Beach Island Resort, which has been in this city for over 60 years. It's been one of the places that some of you that have been around here a long time, some of the astronauts and some of the engineers back in the day of the space program used to come. And matter of fact, some of the families still come here to this day. The reason why I'm here today, I'm representing them. We found out a couple weeks ago, we went to renew our overnight parking passes that we have with the city. We have about 7 of them. The resort only has, we have 18 rooms and we have 12 parking spaces out in front of the resort, one which is a handicap. All of our overflow parking, which only happens usually between January and July, is where we send everybody. Now, we paid the city last year, I think it was almost $2,800 for those 7 parking passes. We went to renew them and were told that one of the commission meetings that all the overnight parking passes had been pulled for all the businesses. So tonight I'm here just to humbly ask if you guys would reconsider that for our business. We don't cause any trouble in the city. Matter of fact, all of our guests that are there are all elderly that come, retirees that have been coming for 40-something years to hang out. We don't have a problem paying the fee whatsoever, and a matter of fact, out of the 7 passes, we may have 3 over there at a time. We have looked at other businesses down the street that maybe would let us pay to stay there until we get this worked out, a church. Problem is some of these elderly people can't walk 4 blocks, to the resort. Some are on oxygen. So we just ask you to reconsider for us. I understand there's probably some businesses out there that are taking advantage of the situation and maybe causing you guys trouble. We're definitely not one of them. So again, if you could consider that, maybe put that on your next agenda to reconsider for us, we would greatly appreciate it.
What street is this on?
We're at 1125 South Patrick. The passes you gave us were 11th Avenue. We were told that we could have the first 7 right there. So what we've been doing now until we get this resolved is we are having the guests come down to the city and pay the $75 for your year-long pass, but we have been telling the guests you run the risk of getting a ticket by the Cocoa Beach Police Department, but we're volunteering right now to pay their tickets until we get this resolved. Because again, we're just, we're not a nuisance to the city at all. We're just, and some of these guests that have been coming have been parking before parking was even a charge years ago, So yes, we're just asking if you could humbly reconsider that. We don't mind paying, and by all means, if we're a nuisance, punish us, but we're not, I don't believe even with the city of Cocoa Beach. I even worked a sting with the city of Cocoa Beach to clean up that resort, and we even have a blanket parking or blanket trespass for anybody that comes in there that's not supposed to be there. Cocoa Beach Police Department can come in and take care of that. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's like really effective. That's really effective. Yes, Skip.
There's no doubt what it
Skip
is.
has a comment.
City manager, wait. So I know there must have been some kind of policy change. But I'm confused on enforcement. He's talking overnight, and we only enforce parking
Till 7.
till 7 o'clock at night. So that doesn't fix your problem?
What time do we begin in the morning?
7.
So that may be where they get caught, is if somebody's not out of their vehicle.
Well, I'd just say $2,800 worth of revenue for parking spaces that are normally not have been charged for overnight, even if they're there till 10 o'clock the next morning or something. I don't know. Do we have a policy that prohibits that from getting their renewal?
I think it was brought,
Was it?
last meeting, and Patricia, can you come up here for a second? I think
That was for
the commission
businesses.
decided that we were not going to allow the purchase of slots, parking spaces to anyone, but Patricia,
That's a weird precedence.
And we change that one.
Yeah, I think this was part of the discussion Heidi's had
our,
requested. a
our last meeting
play
with the
spots and
parking,
stuff like
I know
that.
you're, wasn't it decided that we're not going to allow the purchase of parking spaces for?
Correct.
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, that's what I brought to you for consideration, because we had only had 3 contracts, and we had 2 that were coming to an end of the contract and 1 that had just renewed. This was one of them that just came to the end of the contract. But we'd also had another business that was interested in doing a special arrangement to reserve parking of that sort. And that's why we came to commission to get direction on how you wanted us to handle it, because we're getting more interest in this. And it was at that meeting that the commissioners had given direction not to enter into more of these contracts.
Okay, so, very good, that's the way I understood it. I didn't know that this situation was part of it. So, do we have it written down somewhere? I mean, besides the meeting minutes? Is there, I just asked the city manager and city attorney to look into, is there a way to have exceptions based on the circumstances? It's not like somebody wanting 7 prime spots downtown for valet parking. This is 11th Street South, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's the closest ones to the street, not the closest one to the beach.
Right, we were told we needed to park by finance, we should park as close to the street as possible and not near the beach.
Right, that way the beach spots are still open most of the time.
Yeah, I would suggest that y'all deal with it on a case-by-case basis, and when someone comes into the finance department to ask for this, then they get put on an agenda, and y'all decide based upon the facts.
So there's no existing policy that authorized those 3 cases? They were just one-offs or historicals or whatever?
I mean, apparently this has been done for probably way longer than I've been
Okay,
here, so I don't know.
Then if I can get the consent of the commission to have Patricia go ahead and grandfather this parking arrangement in, I think we should just move forward tonight.
I'd like to sit and talk with them and get a full story before I just say yes. So for that, if you wouldn't mind this week or so, before next meeting, let me see your whole thing, and then I'll have a better idea of what, I will talk with the city manager if there's anything. And then bring it,
Can we make it an agenda item, or?
I guess.
If we're not gonna go by consensus tonight, then bring it back as an agenda item for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think we'll bring it back next meeting.
So what was the intent of the vote last time? Not to do this, and now we're thinking case by case?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a blanket thing saying all businesses can buy
Yeah.
parking permits.
I'm concerned, I mean, this particular instance sounds like it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
But I just think it sets an awkward precedence.
That's why I want to look into
Yeah.
it more.
And
I think it would be good
If you
for us
want
to
me
set
to
standards.
draft a resolution setting forth some criteria, I
Please.
can do that, and then I'll send it to y'all, and
And
just
the-
let me know what you think.
The opportunity, the process for exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounded like some of the thought process was around whether it's downtown or it's out in the outer
Yeah,
reaches.
I would assume that would make a huge difference.
It does seem like it. So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me to consider. But I think it'd be important to establish standards and not a
Right.
very loose
Right.
case by case.
Yeah, I mean, one of the points we talked about is now we're getting into this convoluted, how do you enforce it? They've got green stickers, they've got blue stickers, they've got red stickers. It's like, wow. I mean,
And we don't want to get into
Yeah.
playing favorites or.
the devil's always in the details. It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Lori Arich read that right?
It's Eric.
Eric.
Doesn't look like it, but. Hi. Not sure where to start.
Actually, can you state your address and just keep in mind it was 3 minutes.
Laurie Eric, ARRICH, 950 Bluegrass Lane, Rockledge, Florida. I have lived in Brevard County since 1968. Went to Cocoa High. There was no Rockledge High at that time. Well, it was the new Cocoa High became Cocoa High, Rockledge became Rockledge High. As a teenager, spent every weekend at the beach, 4th Street. Everybody was surfing, just enjoying the beach. There was no paying. You just went to the beach, you parked, you had a good time. Did that for many, many years. And recently, I started going back to the beach. It'd been a while. And I went to 4th Street, 5th Street, 6th Street, and I saw that there's pay for parking. And at one time, actually, I started going back to the beach before that, and the parking was, there was a metal box and some little paper envelopes, and you'd put your money in it for paying for parking, and you drop it down in this metal bucket that nobody could get into unless it was opened up by the city or whatever, which was fine with me. But now parking, I didn't go to the beach for a long time, started going again, and now when you pull into 4th or 5th or 6th Street, there's a big sign that says app, and you have to read this very long statement about how to get on the app. I've got my phone in front of me. I use my phone for text and for emails. I don't know how to use an app or anything else on my phone. I hand my phone to my grandkids and say, get me into this program. I don't know how to do it. So basically, I made a decision. It was $35 for parking, which I didn't pay. And I even left a note on my windshield saying, I don't know how to use the app. I know I'm going to be fined an extra $15, and I'll be willing to pay the $50. And then I went and enjoyed the beach. And of course, when I got back, I had the ticket, went to City Hall, paid it. And as I was talking to the gentleman who I was paying, he kind of made the comment that I wasn't the first older person that has this problem at the beaches, because we were not born with a cell phone in our hands. Our grandkids and our kids, they can do everything on a cell phone. I text, and as I said, email, and that's it. So anyway, I was willing to pay the fee, and I went down to, and I don't know the officer is here, but he's the one, after I paid the $50 or $35 or whatever, suggested that I come to City Hall and just talk to City Hall about finding an easier, was that my 3 minutes? Easier way to pay.
You can get a parking pass. When you went in to pay, you could have bought a parking pass, and it's $75 for the full year.
You applied that 50?
You mean at the 4th Street, I would have paid for it?
Yeah.
No, when you went in to pay your parking fine?
If you get a sticker, you can park in any stub-end street
As much as you want.
year-round, day or night, with no charge.
After you pay the sticker.
Can we give her discretion to pay $25
I
to
mean,
give her a sticker?
a lot of times what they'll do too is if you didn't know, you can go in and they'll waive that fee if you pay your $75 pass.
I figure any fees that get paid at the beach go to a good purpose. Probably something for Cocoa Beach, for the beaches and the cleanup and whatever. So it wasn't the money that was the issue. It's just that I couldn't do it. So, okay,
So-
Thank you.
that's what I'll do.
So, for the city manager or Karen, whoever wants to carry the ball, can you put out a CBNN that says, we have app-only parking for the permitted spaces, and let people know, if you're a city resident, it's this much, and if you're a county, Florida local, or whatever the different steps are, what the charges are, and let them know that it's year-round and they can park anywhere, that that's allowable by a sticker. And
Doesn't
and
require an app.
For Lori, was somebody trying to give consensus? I don't know if it was,
I want to say, I tried that app and I got stuck with it. And I was messing with it for like 15 minutes and I gave up. It was, like you hit a point where you're supposed to enter the location and like you try to and it's like, and I think one of my friends tried it too. And like we really have a hard time and I just gave up. And so I kind of,
well, that's trying to force you to buy a sticker.
But and you're a lot younger than I am, so you're having problems.
They're
with it.
upselling you from the
I don't know. I
hourly
mean,
rate
and
to the
then
yearly rate.
I think there's an issue with those because I was down in Hillsborough yesterday and I was trying to park and they had the same app. And we were there, like 3 of us, trying to download this app. Luckily, they had a phone number, so we just called. And they still put you through this. So, like, these apps
It's
are kind
frustrating.
of cumbersome and not very helpful. So,
It's
it's not just
frustrating,
you.
for sure.
And I don't know if maybe we should take a look at that. again.
Well,
So-
what I was going to say, in Ms. Arich's case, you already paid your $50 fine. How long ago was that?
Oh, 6 weeks
Okay.
or 4 weeks, I don't know. I'd have to
was
look it
in-
up.
it
I'd have
was
to
in-
look it up on my phone.
It was
It's
in
not up here anymore.
it was
It's
in
my phone.
2024?
Pardon?
Was it after the first of the year?
Yes.
Okay. So with the commission's consent,
That's fine.
can we go ahead and if she chooses, she gets
You'll get your credit for what you already
your credit
paid.
for your $50, pay another $25, get your sticker, and you can go park wherever you want at the stub end streets.
Okay. And again, I don't mind paying the whole fee for the new. It was just, I wanted to bring it to
Well-
everybody's attention that the app is not easy to use.
Yeah, I wouldn't even think to attempt it.
I don't mind paying the full price.
So on that note, we can come into the City Hall and buy them, right? It used to be online only, now it's in person, so
Somewhat, yeah,
that's
we're
an
not
option too.
In this situation, it would be in person.
Got it.
So I'd have to go to someplace on Cocoa Beach to get my pass for the year. Right?
City Hall right here.
City- oh.
And we'll make a note, we'll put
It's
your
in
name on a
Public
list,
Works.
and we come in, we'll put your name on a list, and you can
Okay.
get your
Okay.
credit.
Commissioner Willis's
Thank you.
point, it may be worth us looking into if there are other companies or if there's ways that the existing company can improve their signage or ad. Because, I mean, just from the city's perspective, if we're losing revenue because people can't figure out how to pay and they're
We're
leaving,
gaining revenue.
Because people get frustrated to park there, and then we get $50 fine.
or they just leave.
Yeah,
right? So
I just
would-
left. I'm like,
Yeah,
that,
it would
yeah,
be,
yeah,
it'd be valuable for the
Make
folks
it
that
easy
are
for
coming
them
to
to spend
visit
money.
us, if it were seamless.
The one down south was the
It should
exact same app.
have,
in
you
Hillsborough.
want the same thing.
pay
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You would,
option.
yeah, it sounds like it, from the two anecdotes, it's hard.
It's not
Yeah.
user friendly at all. Yeah, it's frustrating. You spend 15 minutes there. Is there? Yeah, we can. Yeah.
All right, so we'll
So
look
live in
into
Cocoa
that.
Beach, I don't.
Yeah, we'll get IT to look at
Sounds good. All right, we've got another public comment, Janice Scott,
Yeah. Thank you.
put it backwards again.
Good
Hey, what? You
evening,
did
Mayor,
something to your hair.
Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to make public comment. And this will be televised, unlike the county commission meeting that decided that they would blank out visual public comment recently, which is a huge sunshine violation where the screen went black. And it was a very arbitrary decision, but I mean, public meetings are about meeting with the public, right? Seeing what they have to say. Well, it was kind of odd because it was like back in the old days when we listened to the radio, you could hear everybody talking, but you couldn't see anything. So anyway, on to an important meeting on March 6th at the Cocoa Beach Library. Please don't miss this talk by Blaise Tredis. He's our 18th Judicial Circuit for Public Defender for Brevard and Seminole County, and he's going to talk, his talk's about lawfare. It's about the weaponization of federal and state agencies against Donald Trump. I think you'll all find it very interesting. And while you're there, after you run out of time talking about that, you could talk about English being the official state language of the state of Florida. It's in our Constitution, and it's really disappointing how language unifies us. I'm not against anybody being bilingual, trilingual, speaking 6 or 7 languages, But when you speak English here in the United States, you can access your benefits, you can talk to your neighbors readily. I just find even on Spectrum TV, the commercials are eroding talking in English during the commercial. They have 3 or 4 little vignettes where they slide into other languages. So in the last election, it was very disappointing how the ballot, and I'm not against, again, it being bilingual, however, the line for line bilingual ballot suppressed voter interest in the election. People just did not want to go through all that. So I hope you all will keep that in mind and talk to your state representatives and senators to please enforce our state constitution. I mean, this year, they're probably going to have 300 or 400 new things on the agenda to discuss different, topics about, I won't name all of them, but gun control during emergencies and so on and so forth. But I think English, speaking English, having it as our state language, and enforcing the Constitution is paramount. Thank you.
Gracias. Any other public comment?
What's wrong with you? This guy.
That means thank you. All right.
Rapido.
That concludes public comment. Staff reports.
Okay, I have one item tonight, Mayor. In front of everyone is a couple of pieces of paper stapled together. This is an update on the situation with the lifeguards with the county. What you have in front of you is 2 contract agreements that were presented to me in an email from the county. I forwarded that email to all the commissioners, and this is a result of them coming to us in early January and presenting to the city an offer of theirs to raise our fees for lifeguard services from $82,000 last year to close to $900,000 a year. We were instructed and went back with a counter to them, and the counter was that we're not going to pay anything for lifeguard services, not only the $890,000 that they want, but this previous fee also. So this is the reaction to that by the county. What I'm asking for is direction on this. What does the commission wish us to do as far as a response to this? I want to point out one other thing. The last page of the little packet that I gave to everyone is a page out of the budget for this year, and as you can see, that there's nothing budgeted for lifeguards in this year's budget. Last year it was budgeted for $82,000, so we can go back to them with an agreement to pay this, or we can go back to them with a counteroffer of nothing.
Stick to your guns. We don't need to pay for lifeguards.
I would differ. What we've been paying, I believe, is reasonable to have a full contingent, the entire city of lifeguards. Because, we don't want to say we only have lifeguards at our 2 city parks. So the price they're asking now is basically the same price as last year, plus escalation due to inflation. And it's just, can we make a motion on something that's not like this, that's not on the agenda?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to have the city manager go ahead and approve the counter offer and fund it.
Execute these contracts.
Yes. But I need a second.
I'd like a second if we can, meanwhile, just for this year, reevaluate and see if we can possibly come up with something else, but.
I got a motion and a second.
So we'd be careful what we say. They're obviously listening, so you don't want to give away your entire position.
So,
I agree with the mayor. I'll just leave it at that.
so, they get enough money from our TDC. They get enough money. They're the ones that advertise for people to come here. If they don't want to pay, I mean, we've been paying all these years. They brought this before us. We don't even have it budgeted. I'm all right.
I'm just saying that for $83,000, if we lose one life in the area that would have had lifeguards during lifeguard duty hours, it's gonna be hard for me to sleep at night.
There's no way that they're not going to put lifeguards out there. They're advertising to come to the beach.
Commissioner Willis, didn't you say last time that you'd done some screening and they actually weren't staffed, or the hours are shorter or whatever, that they weren't actually?
No, he's got the hours in the contract, it's the same as before.
No, I thought you mentioned last time that you go by there and there was nobody there during the stated hours.
That I had reports.
Correct me
that-
if I'm wrong, I thought
No,
that was
no,
what I'm
I know, there was reports that they weren't there, whether, they weren't staffed when they should have been, totally. But, I mean, I think it's better than having nothing.
They're not going to put nothing out there. They're advertising, come to the beach. They're going to put people out there. I mean, that's the way I feel about it.
Public comment?
Any public comment on this?
Janice Scott, Cocoa Beach. I really think that you should counteroffer whatever it was that they said to not do anything. The TDC collects over 60% of their income, which is, I believe, over $3 million from Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral. They're spending $1 million advertising, come to the beach, we have lifeguards. Obviously, they're prepared to pay for it, so I just think you should send the city manager back to negotiate again. Thank you.
So let me ask the city attorney a question. So would you advise that I get the comment I emailed you too about our negotiation position? I don't want to offer that publicly unless you think that's acceptable, or you want to state on my behalf.
I think you can go ahead and state it.
Okay, so my position was, we've already assumed with the mutual aid agreement, a significant service that we're providing, use that as leverage. Say, wait a minute, we're doing this for you for the fire service. Certainly that offsets 80K. I don't want to split hairs over 80K, but same time, it's the principle of it. It's
Wasn't
like-
there something about the TDC can't spend money on police, fire, and emergency services?
The TDC cannot. The
We still
county
have to bear
certainly
that burden.
can.
Yeah, we've incurred a
But
significant
you're
liability.
talking the TDC's got money, Janice is talking TDC's got money, but the TDC can't spend money on police, fire, and
I'm not asking them.
emergency
We're
services.
asking them to pay for lifeguards,
Exactly.
not for,
I'm asking them to.
We'll do our part, they do their
$80,000
part.
cost, and our value we're providing is the fire service and unincorporated Cocoa Beach.
I don't-
You guys, like, you know for a fact that if we counter this with nothing, that there's gonna be coverage? Because I'm really concerned about no coverage.
yeah, well,
I mean,
if they don't want to cover it, I'm more than willing to talk to the press and say that TDC brought these people here and they didn't want to pay for lifeguards.
But so meanwhile, we have a whole year of no coverage?
Well,
I'm concerned about it.
it's 10% coverage. It's still the county's.
No.
It's the
they're
city
not-
portion.
They're not gonna do any of it.
The 800.
We haven't even sent this proposal to them yet. Let's send it to them.
How much time do we have before they cut, if we don't supposedly renew?
There
they
was
cut?
no time specified in the correspondence, so.
Oh, really?
They did reply unsolicited with a counteroffer though, correct?
They wanted to know whether we were in agreement with the agreements that are in front of you.
Right.
Whether we were, what they stated it as status quo with the CPI.
They were obviously playing hardball with us, trying to get us to pay over $800 and something thousand in the beginning.
So we have time would we have time to send them back and still have coverage? I just really feel uncomfortable with no lifeguards out there, if that's,
I don't understand how you think that they're actually going to tell people to come swim at the beaches and not provide lifeguards.
I think
I mean, it's a
they would.
possibility. It's a possibility.
It is,
It
but
is.
again,
I mean, there's no guarantee we don't have a contract, so I'm really concerned about that.
I don't, it just, I mean, we had our fire people come up with what it would cost them to provide the same service, and it was double the $880,000. So if they come back, if we offer them nothing and they come back and say, okay, no lifeguards, TDC, who can't fund lifeguards, can't figure out a way to do it, then we have to knee jerk and go provide our own somehow. It's gonna cost us way more than a 90% discount on the offer we had a month ago. So I'm taking the 90% discount and have lifeguards.
I'm not spending that.
We can negotiate this between now and when this contract expires, where we have plenty of time, and we don't risk not having lifeguard coverage and risk lives of people drowning because we want to stand on our heels and say we're not going to pay. I can't. Police, fire, EMS, public safety is my number one priority, be whether they're public from Cocoa Beach or public coming to Cocoa Beach. And I'd be appalled if this doesn't, if it doesn't, my motion doesn't pass.
I agree. I mean, I see taking the stand, but at the same time, I feel really responsible if we didn't have, we're taking a chance of not having coverage. Maybe they will, maybe we don't know for sure. And I don't have a crystal ball to see that. So I mean.
It sounds like.
Okay, well, we got a motion and a second. Or any other public comment? Yeah, we'll do Tim and then we'll do you guys.
Tim Tumulty, Cocoa Beach. I didn't hear the numbers that they came back with. Originally, they said it was close to 900,000. We responded at our last meeting saying, we're not paying anything. And what did they come back with? I didn't hear that number or see it. Pardon?
89,659.
89,000, so basically 10%, like you said, a 90% discount from what they purchased. Did we ever pay any money for lifeguards in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much?
Every year.
About 82-ish.
Then why wouldn't we continue at that same amount, or?
I can explain that. So they came to us, the county, and said that we feel you should pay 50% of the cost, which was about $890,000. They did not initially offer us to just pay the 89. They wanted us to pay $890,000, which was 50% of the total cost. And they wanted our reaction to that. They came and asked for our reaction to that.
But historically, we've always paid 10. They've upped it to 50 this year was the initial offer.
Yes.
And then we did not give a counteroffer, correct?
Well, our counteroffer was we were not willing to pay anything.
We didn't send
I
it in,
didn't think
though.
we didn't send it, though.
We didn't send it.
We didn't send the letter,
They
but
watched
they
the
were
meeting.
aware of what was said at the
No, I
meeting.
understand.
Yeah.
No, they came to us and we had a meeting. The county commissioner came and we met with him and one of their attorneys. And they wanted our reaction to what they were proposing, to bring back to the commission. And our reaction was that we didn't think it was fair and, we were not willing to pay. We thought the TDC should pay. So then they subsequently came back with an email to me with this proposal on it.
Yeah.
That's where we're at now. That's what I'm asking for.
It's inflation adjusted, or last year's proposal.
Yes,
adjusted for
it's
inflation.
last year's with a 8% CPI increase.
Rick Anderson, 1800 Minutemen Causeway. I have to agree that the whole funding system is corrupt, it's messed up, it's broken, there's no way it works. I hate the way the county operates, but just from a resident of the city, I don't want to play hardball with $80,000 and risk the kind of brinkmanship that could occur if they play hardball and then there are no lifeguards and the reputation that could wind up for Cocoa Beach. So in principle, I agree we shouldn't pay anything, but I don't think I'd play the hardball with the $89,000.
Question, and Willis Williams, why did we strip this out of the budget in '24? Or did that?
Missed it.
I think it was removed.
That's what I'm asking, is why did we?
I don't know the answer to
We
that
didn't
question.
remove it line item.
For one, we don't
I
even
don't
have it
think we
budgeted
removed
this
it.
year.
We
Yeah,
just
it
missed
just
it.
wasn't budgeted.
We missed it.
You guys need to deep dive it like I did.
You missed it? Okay, I'll blame it on you.
I'm not voting for it.
John Dolan, East Osceola Lane. Has the city communicated to see a comparison with other cities in Brevard County or even outside of Brevard County to see what they make with the kind of deals with organizations like that? I don't know.
Yeah, we know.
But that's what it's see comparison prices like that, if they do or not.
We know.
And second, it's kind of ironic that y'all concerned about somebody with a life in the water, but you kind of wonder if you think what I keep telling you earlier about the safety on the street, that running too fast with people walking on the streets, the safety concern. So be thinking of that with both places.
I like how you wrapped that in, that was good.
Land that plane.
All right, any other public comment? Again? All right.
I just wanted to add or respond to Commissioner Williams' remark about the TDC funds paying for public safety. They can now. There was a ruling about that about 2 months ago, because that was under quite a discussion. A friend and I were at odds about that, and yes, and she was like, Cocoa Beach should pay and everything, and now it has been resolved that they can use those funds. And the other thing that hasn't been brought into the equation ever, and never gets talked about, is Cape Canaveral paying this for the lifeguards there, or they don't have any lifeguards in Cape Canaveral. Maybe the manager knows, but I just feel that we're treated like we have all this money here. And, anytime I go around the county commission, it's always like, Cocoa Beach should pay. They should pay. You have the parking fees. They think we should be paying this out of the parking fees, and we're all running around with bags of gold. But anyway, we're not. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Cocoa Beach is 40 million in debt. Cape Canaveral's 14 million in debt. We don't have a lot of money to just throw around. So we've got a motion and a second to accept this offer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-2. All right.
Passes 3-2.
Oh, no, sorry, not 4-2, 3-2. Added an extra person. I was adding Tim. All right. Where are we at?
E.
C, D, E. All right, staff reports.
That was his report.
Oh, yeah, okay. City attorney.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, city commission reports or announcements.
Pass.
I just had one thing. I was at the board meeting for the Space Coast League of Cities, and I just wanted to let you guys know, they are planning to have a training session to fill out Form 6 in March. And I just wanted to make you aware, they're gonna solidify a date, so when I know the date and the time, I think it's gonna be like March 18th or something, but I'll let you guys know in case they're letting all elected officials attend that to help everybody out with doing that, so.
I'm selling everything I have that's worth more than $1,000.
I'm giving it all to my
I'll
wife.
buy it for $1.
It's a real problem. They're having massive people leaving. It's not worth it. I don't
Yeah.
want everyone knowing all my stuff. So it's interesting, Melbourne did join the class action lawsuit to push back on that. I don't know if it'll go anywhere.
And she was just talking about that the other night. It's like $10,000 for the city to join in that class action lawsuit or something like that.
Yeah, it is, yeah, I discussed it with Becky.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, Wayne, I talked to you about doing sod around the 19th hole, this golf course area, just the actual building here, just to increase curb appeal. You said, was that CRA or ARPA funds or?
What I can do is get a price, and then we can address a funding source, and we could go with ARPA.
Okay. Would you guys be interested in actually, I mean, even just some St. Augustine, at least, it's all weeds. If you, actually, this week, if you want, go around and look around the whole 19th hole, but where they're fixing up the restaurant area, and they got that porch area, if you look down, it's all weeds and dirt.
South side.
The west and west, mostly the west side. So I was wondering if you guys would be interested in trying to increase that curb appeal so that, we can actually be proud of something that we have.
No, I agree with it, and I'll comment on why I pulled H2, but I think that's a bigger philosophical discussion I'd like to have is where we
Okay.
fund it, it's not the budget, right? So I agree with it,
So
if
is
we're
that
spending the money to.
something you guys also would be interested in, if we can have Wayne look into getting that taken care of?
Is he gonna do like a contract where we have to, the
It should only be
selection
a couple $1,000s to
of- we have
resod that.
to, do we have to go through that whole process of finding a contractor to do it, or we just having our public work? Okay, cool.
No, in fact, that might be wrapped into a further discussion. Yes.
Okay, so we'll wait till you bring this up.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
this is the only chance we get a chance to talk, so I want to have
Yeah.
a bigger discussion of, we keep nickel and diming these things, but it's like, guys.
Sounds
let's
good.
Budget or not.
Okay.
It's-
Perfect.
I do have comments whenever you're done.
It's probably the kind of thing I can just take care of. It won't reach the threshold of,
Okay,
I'll get it done.
okay, cool. All right, and you said you got some comments. Did you
Yeah,
want
we got an
Skip-
email about the school release. I don't know, city manager, the parking, the staging area, it sounded like it's a bottleneck. I understand that they rerouted the stuff for the high school, but I think this is predominantly the middle school. We got an email from a gentleman that lives down at the country club. I just was trying to get public feedback on what that, like I said, my understanding is they rerouted the high school pieces or something we can do to alleviate that at the middle school as well. I guess it's the cars are staging on the side of Minuteman and
Does high-
bottlenecking for residents.
Is high school and elementary school get out at the same time, or is it different times?
Different time.
Different times. Are you referring to that letter that we received?
Yeah, I think it was General Baldwin.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting you on the spot, I'm just
No,
trying to
no, no,
ask,
it's
is whatever
fine.
we did for the high school, whatever assessment we did, I'm trying to see, is there, was
So
a
we've
similar
looked at
assessment
that,
done?
and probably the solution to that, other than doing a traffic study, would be to add a turning lane there. Because there's, by the nature of the beast, you've got the whole school getting out at a certain time. And what we did as kind of a Band-Aid fix was we buttered the one side of the road so you can kind of, instead of popping off the road into the grass and then dangerously popping back onto the
Yeah.
road, we put millings there to soften that, and that seems to have helped. But I think an actual engineered solution to that would be an additional lane there, and that's an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get some rough estimates of cost on that, but I'm saying probably in the $300,000 to $350,000 range.
What was the driver on the high school? Or is that even true? Are they rerouting it through Tumulty? You can probably talk to that, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't, because I'm out there during that.
Yeah.
We did reroute, and so they're picking up the kids on the west side, which is in the football parking
Yeah.
lot, stopping them from going through the front lobby area. And of course, there were a lot of parents that were parking on Minutemen, and so then the kids started walking across the street, and we were like, no, we stopped that. We got the, John Bond is a police officer a resource officer at Cocoa Beach, and he did a great job in stopping that immediately. We had a police officer out there, basically talking to him, didn't give him tickets, just said, hey, it's not safe for you to be out here, and they stopped him from parking along Minutemen on that triangle grass area, and it runs pretty smooth now. Every time we make a change in the traffic pattern, there's a learning curve, and it's resolved now. I think it's moving pretty well. I don't know how old that email was. But.
This was catered around Roosevelt.
So
I think it's
well, that's a
Roosevelt.
different. Yeah, that's a
if there's
different
something,
story down
whatever
there.
we did, assessment, just, hey, that makes sense. I told them I'd run by there. I wasn't there when I would school that out today, but.
The
that's
high
all I'm
school
trying to bring
side's
up. Is
the high
there
school
something-
side's moving well.
Yeah.
I mean, I come out of there,
Yeah.
and you time your exit to try to avoid that, but
Yeah.
I mean, we can fix anything, but that's probably an expensive fix.
No, like I said, I was just trying to leverage whatever we
No,
did
no,
for
no,
the high
I
school.
get it.
So that's
One of the
it.
joys of living by a school.
City Hall was down there. We had a total chaos.
You don't lose power during a hurricane if you live.
Exactly.
I wonder, is there a possibility to get with the high school parking lot and make like a waiting area in the high school, in that parking lot right there, rather?
Full.
Great idea. No.
Well, isn't it?
It's still full when the little kids get out.
I'm not sure. He would know.
Yeah.
It's not full, or it is?
It's full.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, Roosevelt gets out first.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's full.
we've got 1,000 kids waiting until,
I didn't know which got out first. Okay.
We'll go over there tomorrow, Mayor. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. But I can't
That's it
talk,
for me.
but I can't talk to you.
We won't talk. We'll just drive over there.
Just point and grunt. Okay. Any more comments there? You're good? Okay. Consent agenda.
Okay, this is the consent agenda. Item 1, approve the February 1, 2024 commission meeting minutes. Representative, City Clerk Department, recommendation approved. Item 2 has been removed. Item 3, adopt Resolution 2024-02, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Cocoa Beach, Florida, changing the name of what has been called Cultural Green Space to Cocoa Beach Centennial Square and providing an effective date. Representative, City Commission, recommendation approved. Item 4, approve the lease agreement between CRA and Cocoa Beach Main Street, approved by the CRA Board. Representative Devlin Talley, Community Redevelopment Agency Administrator, recommendation approved. Item 5, approve of resolution number 2024-03, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Cocoa Beach, Florida, to extend the expiration date of beach business license agreements that would otherwise expire before February 29, 2024, until March 31, 2024, and providing an effective date. Representative Randy Stevenson, Development Services Director, recommendation approved. Item 6, approve the adopted mural from the CRA Board of the Surfside Playhouse. Representative Devin Talley, Community Redevelopment Agency Administrator, recommendation approved.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Items removed from the consent agenda.
Okay, this is item 2, approve $2,646,000 ARPA funds for the City Hall construction, Bicentennial Park, Fire Station Alarm System, and Country Club renovations. Representative Patricia Draycott, Chief Financial Officer, recommendation approved.
I'll move to approve it because I pulled it off and I want to discuss it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Okay, so this is more about, I support, given our public safety, whatever initiative. To me, it's more about the processes. We didn't have either of these items, the fire and the phase 4 of the country club in the budget. We have an ordinance coming up, whatever, K1. I just want to get consensus on, are we managing this? We just went through nickel and dime and 80,000. We had the fireworks discussion last week about, did we want to try to carve out 30,000? I'm just trying to get us in a position where we manage. I think I'm going to vote no on that ordinance just because I think we can manage the budget process in this budget and prioritize and phase things out time-wise. So I think, again, I wanted to get this out there of, we keep having these unbudgeted items. We got to go carve money out. This one, it sounds like it's ARPA money. I don't know if that's just,
It's true.
it's not free money because we could certainly use it elsewhere, but that's not a get out of jail free card just because the color of money is different. So I'd like to have a little more.
So, you're correct. It's not free money, but it's taxpayer money, and we pay taxes. So we accepted the ARPA funds, because if we didn't, it would just go to somebody else. And there's certain things you can use it for, and these things qualify, so it helps us overall in our budget deficit.
Totally understand that.
By going ahead and doing it.
My question is, why weren't they in the budget? If we knew they were coming, I'm not arguing the color of money issue.
Well,
I'm saying if we knew they were coming.
Why don't we budget to maintain anything? I mean,
That's exactly my point, so I'm trying to instill discipline. I totally get it. I want to use the money. I'm not suggesting we don't. I'm just saying, this is funding things that nobody had in the 5-year plan.
Well, we didn't know we were gonna get the grant for Bicentennial Park, and we were hoping to get the grant from the state for the hurricane hardening of City Hall. So this helps, because the
totally agree.
ARPA money match is allowable for that kind of.
didn't we already not get that?
We did not
We
get
did
the
not
City Hall
get that.
grant, which you guys voted for.
But you said you're hoping for it?
No, when we did the budget,
We
we
were.
only budgeted X amount because we were hoping for that grant. Well, we didn't get it.
Right.
So that put us in the hole. So now we're taking $1 million out of the ARPA funds.
And putting us in a bigger
To
hole.
fill partially that hole.
Well, no, because this wasn't in the budget to do Phase 4. So that's my point, is we're now digging
I
our.
wasn't talking about phase.
Actually, if I might interject, Patricia
Yes,
Draycott,
please.
CFO, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The city did budget to use 1 million in ARPA funds for the City Hall construction process. That was in the current budget. The city also did budget for the ARPA funds to be used for the Bicentennial Park. So those two are actually budgeted items to be using ARPA funds. The reason that the fire department did not put it in the budget to replace the alarm system is because they were still doing repairs on the existing system, and they thought the repairs would hold, and they are not. They keep dumping more money into the repairs, and they've got 3 quotes for the new alarm system, but their current alarm system is now again down and has been for a short period of time now.
That's my point, is if it wasn't in the
Well,
CIP.
he wasn't anticipating it would
Yeah.
break and stay broken.
Yeah, Deputy Chief Grimes. So we've been using a system, it's an old type system, where it uses an amplifier, it sets a tone. So when the alarm system is actually how we get notified that there's a call. So for probably the last 2 months, we've been working off of just pack set radios because we don't have a reliable source. So what happens is the company that fixes it, they bring in a new amp, and then about a month later, the amp fries, and then they charge us another $1,900 to put another amp. We've had them rerun wire, we've had them do all these different things. They can't seem to come up with an answer. So their answer was completely redo the system. The system, again, is a very dated, old, outdated, or I should say, older type system. There's new systems out there that have things that work with the lights, so the lights come on. They are also called Heart Smart Tone, so the tone starts low and ramps up, so you don't just get a loud tone in the middle of the night. So we figured if we're going to go ahead and replace the alerting system, to do it with a newer one, and the price was about $20,000 difference to replace the existing, to go to the new updated type system. Just like Patricia said, and I wish someone from IT, because we've all been working with this company to try to limp this thing along, and it just got to a point of failure where they said, we just need to redo it all. So one of our stations currently doesn't have an alerting system at all. So we've been kind of just running off of pack set radios.
Thank you for that. This is more just for the commission. Hey, guys, let's get our act together so we're not having to try to constantly do this emergency, because it's not cheap doing an emergency maintenance repair. So that's my message. I'm going to approve it. I'm going to vote yes. I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve so it's not oops, it's not in the budget. Where do we carve this out from? Oh, let's nix fireworks. Let's nix whatever the $20,000 on those days. So that's all I'm trying to do.
One other thing to just keep in the back of your mind, we have until 12/31/2024 to obligate our ARPA funds.
Yeah.
And if we do not, we have to return all unobligated ARPA funds to the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah.
So we need to go through these steps of obligating our our remaining funds before we end the calendar year, so as to not have to return those funds. So we're looking at these particular projects because they fall as eligible projects under the final rule.
Yeah.
So I understand your point. We are trying and we are asking each of the departments to put more focus on looking at the bigger picture to address some of the concerns that the commissioners have had at recent meetings about looking at their maintenance programs and looking at not just the upcoming year, but looking out there a little further and planning for that and managing for that. And so they're taking we're asking them to take a little bit more intense look at that as we go into the 2024-25 budget to try to address those concerns.
Patricia, oh, sorry, you want to go? Or?
Oh, I'm probably going to say something.
I was wondering if we're coming down to the wire, are we able to put any more money towards City Hall, or did we max that allowance out?
We have, if this particular agenda memo is approved, if this request is approved, we have roughly 600,000 remaining.
That can be used for City Hall?
It could.
So that's exactly my point, is we're digging ourselves into another $400,000 hole on City Hall by allocating it to Phase 4.
I mean, as long as we're allowed to, use money for
250.
for City Hall, I mean, that's, that 250, some of that, you said we're gonna fix that starter shack and that uneven ground. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like the starter shack, there's a railroad ties with nails sticking out of it and holes in them. And I mean, we really do need to take care of this country club. It's a great asset. And I think if it had better curb appeal, I think we could even potentially make more money for the city with a nicer amenity.
100% agree. We had a team that put all those hit lists together, and it seems like it would be an item that would be in the budget.
Actually,
Josh.
okay.
That's right.
Patricia, thank you. And I do appreciate that you noted that maintenance of the things that we build as a city is a priority and that you guys are looking at that. So thank you for hearing that. Commissioner Hutcherson, I agree with you. I think your point is well taken that we do a budget for a reason. We've got to live by that budget. I know that the ARPA funding is a little bit different, but to your point, it's well received that we have got to be responsible with the way that we plan, and our plan has got to mean something. We've got to implement it intentionally. So message received, appreciated.
Thank you, Patricia and or Justin.
Before you walk off. I just want to point out too, and in the next budget cycle, when we talk about millage rates and setting millage rates, I remember the mindset for this year was almost to go back to rollback rate. And I mean, they might have had some of this stuff budgeted and they had to cut stuff out too. And I mean, I don't know specifically in detail this stuff, but just some, because we went to, what did we roll? We didn't go back to rollback rate. But
We left the millage unchanged. It's the same.
And there was stuff if we had bumped it up, there was a little proposal to do that. We wouldn't have had to cut we cut a lot of things because of that. And you might be seeing the results of some of this because we did that.
From the original department request to final budget, it was a little over 8 million that was cut.
What was this specific line item? Things what you're asking?
I doubt it. I mean, we haven't maintained this property in a long time.
I'm not saying specifically this thing, but I'm saying overall.
Yeah.
Next year these are things that might get cut that we had to cut because we said it that way. And I'm not saying these specific things, but just something to keep in mind. And then maybe we don't have to nickel and dime stuff next year if we kind of think about bumping up the millage rate a little bit and not keeping it the same. Just want to make that point since we're talking about nickel and diming stuff. Maybe we wouldn't have to do that.
Gotcha. And then, Wayne, was that money that you're requesting for the golf course, was that a hard number, or did that give you some buffer room for?
That's an NTE, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's a commitment of ARPA, so their estimated costs and proposals based on continuing services agreements that we have.
So that's what it came out to?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a not to exceed, right? That's a ceiling. They won't exceed that.
That was,
It's all in the packet,
yeah. Okay, any, I guess, do we have public comment on this since it was on a consent agenda, or is it?
Yeah. You brought it up, you do.
Yeah, so let's have some public comment, if anybody wants to. Okay. I'm okay with it as long as we get some grass out there too. So we pull a vote on it, so we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you for bringing that up and your concern on the budget. It's always helpful to hear.
You guys may run out, we can't talk, so I just want to make sure they understand going forward as we're going into budget season.
It's helpful to hear, how everybody thinks, so it's nice to know that we're all trying to be fiscally conservative here. All right. Unfinished business.
Okay, item 1 of unfinished business, adopt ordinance 1686 on second reading, an ordinance of the City of Cocoa Beach, Florida, amending Section 5-15, stopping, parking, mooring, and towing of Article 1, water safety of Chapter 5, beaches, fills, boats, and waterways, and Section 3-28, seawalls and waterside accessory structures of Article 3, development and construction of Chapter 3, design standards of Appendix B, Land Development Code, and by adding a new Section 5-17, grandfathering of Article 1, water safety of Chapter 5, beaches, fills, boats, and waterways, all of the Cocoa Beach Code of Ordinances, and providing for codification, conflict, severability, and an effective date. Representative Randy Stevenson, Director of Development Services, recommendation adopt.
Move to adopt ordinance 1686 on second reading as revised from the first reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Roll call.
Any public comment? All right.
I'd like to discuss.
You want to go ahead? I know you got a slide, or somebody's got a slide.
So my recommendation is, you jumped on the second, so I'm just talking out loud, is to send it to the planning board and not, I'm indifferent on the numbers, but I just think, again, philosophically, we're kind of all over the map. So across the top is the actual requirements. Thank you, Randy. It was just kind of offhandedly mentioned, the 35-foot in the center. That's the critical dimension, the navigation. None of the other dimensions matter if you're impeding on that 35.
Right.
So across the top is the dock size, physical dock. There's a mooring code of ordinance. There's a mooring land development code. Those are somewhat conflicting. I think that's what we're trying to resolve here. And then there's a parking ordinance in the land development code. Down the side are the the 5 scenarios with different canal widths, and then it dispositions out of what the actual canal width would be. But my point is, on the dock, we have it in land development code, and as a homeowner, it makes it really tricky. You got to kind of navigate like 3 different sources and patch it together what you can actually build. But the dock structure, it's 30 feet or 20% based on your canal width.
Right.
It's in the land development code. Mooring is in the code of ordinance, and it was 20%, so similar type methodology with a hard limit and a percentage. We're proposing to strike that and just go to a 33%. But if you look at the land development code for mooring, it actually just reverts back to 515. So I don't know why we do that. And then there's a parking ordinance in the land development code section, or bullet 6, that again is back to the other philosophy of 33%. So the numbers that comes out based on the canal width, I'm indifferent on this. For me, I'm scenario 5, so I'll gain 27 feet, I can put a boat. So I'm okay with it, but I just think we should clean it up requirements wise, so it's very easy to navigate. And then I forgot, on the code of ordinance, back to the code of ordinance is 515 for the 35 foot. It's down in the bottom. I'd like to just have super clean.
Doing this code actually does clean it up, because it gets rid of that 20% that just came arbitrarily out of pretty much nowhere.
It didn't sound like it did, though. It sounded like this went through the planning board.
I
told you who did it.
The county, and it matches surrounding municipalities.
Exactly.
So I did some digging into this to learn a little bit more. And so thank you so much for this chart. One of the key things, and city manager, I don't know if I have enough insight to define the difference between parking and mooring, but the key for those being in the LDC is they're under the infraction or the infringement on riparian rights. So that's why they're in there. And that, I think when read in context, I think there's a value to them being in there. But the key piece here is the LDC and the CODA ordinance are not in agreement. No, they are in agreement. They're fully in agreement. So we dug into this, and so the key is you're looking at, in the LDC, you're looking at just the structure. And then when you go to the CODA ordinance, you're looking at mooring. The LDC, from a riparian infraction perspective, then speaks to both parking and mooring. And what it does is simply say, for mooring, reference the CODA ordinance. The only place parking is addressed is associated with the riparian infringement in the LDC. And so that's not in disagreement with mooring, because parking and mooring, for some reason, are held differently. I don't know what the difference is, but I'm curious if the
mooring
city
is more
manager
long
can
term,
explain.
and parking is like you just park there like temporarily.
Well, but in terms of enforcement, how do you determine what the difference is for parking and mooring?
A boat, right now, well, until we got circumvented, if you have somebody come park at your dock, okay, and let's say they're over the limit, okay, width-wise or whatever, but there's still that 30 feet. You're over the 33%, but there's still the 35 feet or whatever in the middle. And they're living aboard, visiting you. They're allowed to stay there 3 days. Then they can move.
And so it's up to 3 days is
3
parking
days
anything
of
past?
live aboard. That's
Is that-
that's a mooring. If you're living aboard, that's a mooring.
No more than 9 days a
If you're
month.
parked,
But
and
it's not a
you've
live
got a
aboard?
boat parked there and you're not living aboard it, then it can stay there indefinitely.
So
As
is-
long as it's not in violation of the new rules.
So is that how the city manages parking and mooring as a differentiation, is whether somebody's living aboard?
Again, the parking it's almost synonymous, but it is limited right now to a third of the canal width. That is down in G6, as we talked about. But as we talked about earlier, when we consider mooring, that's the one we're really talking about, is when you're mooring the boat behind your house. It's there long term. Okay, that's its home.
Yeah, but it sounded like or at least Commissioner Williams was saying that the mooring is based on a live aboard versus parking is based on unoccupied.
Okay,
Is that the
the
case?
city definitions have the opportunity to vary from the
traditional meaning.
accepted nautical definitions of mooring.
So I guess where I'm going is and we may get down into the very niche discussion associated with whether people want to live on their boats or not, and so that's open. But if they can't, then parking under Commissioner Williams' definition, and I don't know if it's in disagreement with the city or not, but if that's the case, then just for parking your boat, there's no need to change this ordinance because parking your boat is already under the 33%.
It's
Not necessarily.
Well, yeah, and I agree that it depends on the definition that the city is using.
If we could just simplify it and just leave it at 33.33%, and by the way, I measured, just like I said the other day, from this wall to that wall is just under 35 feet. When we make a law, do we make laws just to make laws? Just to make it harder for people to enjoy themselves? Or do we make laws just because we feel like doing it? We should make a law because we're trying to fix a problem.
Yeah,
Now, the
I
problem
agree.
we have is that 95 boats are out of compliance because we changed a law from what it was before, and then we made it smaller, and now a lot of people are out of compliance. If you can't drive through this with your boat,
You shouldn't be out.
you shouldn't be out
No,
there.
that's exactly what this table highlights, is that you can't infringe on that 35, except for the grandfather clause. So why do we have the grandfather clause in there? That's the
Well,
part that
that's
I'm.
not automatic.
Well, that's my, if there's 95 people that are now non-compliant. that
There's
used to be-
nobody,
hang
there's
on, they
nobody
used to be
grandfather
compliant.
that can do that.
So
Right now, there's nobody in that.
But what
in
your
that
statement was, all this is doing revert back to what it used to be. Talking to some folks on the planning board that says that's not the case. The issue
Yeah.
was at the pie, at the cul-de-sacs, if you will.
Those people are not boaters. They don't, just because they're on the planning board, I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean they know what they're
They don't need to be a
doing.
voter, but my point is that
Have you
was.
watched those
that
meetings?
That was the consideration, is it was more than just a simple.
Too much fun of them.
So if it's,
Hey,
but my point is if we claim that we're reverting back to prior to make everybody compliant, then why do we need a grandfather clause?
yeah, the
Because
two
not-
issues
there
I
is still
have
gonna be a
were-
couple people that are not compliant.
So they weren't compliant before.
Well, a few.
So I would be okay with going back to 33% if we nix the grandfather
So
clause.
what I've heard, the original argument last time was that the land development code and the code of ordinance weren't in agreement and we were fixing that, but that's not the case. They are in agreement and they don't contradict. If you're saying that we got 95 people living on boats
Not
in
living
Cocoa
on
Beach.
boats. Their boats stick out past the.
As long as they're only parked and not moored, then they should be fine
It's past
with the current LDC,
20%, but
right?
Not the 33 and a 30%.
But what I'm saying is that our LDC and our mooring code match with surrounding communities as well as with the county. What I'm hearing is we match with other communities around us. And like you said, if we don't have a problem, let's not change a law just to change a law. If the parking covers anybody who currently is non-compliant to the mooring code, all that means is they can't live on their boat.
I think you're getting stuck in the weeds. I don't think the mooring and the parking, I think are almost synonymous. Like, I think they kind of.
But they're called out differently
And
in the code.
if I might, if you look in the Code of Ordinances under 515, D says, except under emergency conditions, it shall be a violation of this article for any person to moor, anchor, tie up, or otherwise secure a vessel in any waterway which would thereby restrict or endanger passage of another vessel. So they can be considered synonymous in my mind. I think we're.
So let's just clean up the. let's
Parking
just
and
clean up the-
mooring, it's the location of the vessel.
But what in the city's enforcement,
Yeah,
I guess that's what I'm looking for.
Well,
What's the difference?
I'm just looking at the definitions here, and there isn't a definition in our code for mooring. Let me,
We used to have a 72-hour mooring, live aboard, anchored rule.
I think it's still in there.
yeah, mooring's
Said
not,
You can't do it if it's a navigable waterway. They can stay there as long as they want.
yeah, in the LDC, there's no definition of mooring.
But we definitely call them out separately there in the LDC, so there's something to
That
the
doesn't
state
necessarily mean
code.
anything. That just could be because people just called it two different things. Like, you're splitting hairs by.
No, I'm reading the code, or the LDC. It says in paragraph 5, operation and mooring on all waterway vehicles shall be in compliance with the city code of ordinance, chapter 5, article 1. And then in 6, called out separately, waterway vehicle parking is permitted to encumber no more than 1/3 of the width of the waterway. So there, I'm not splitting hairs, I'm actually just reading that they're identified separately and they mean two separate things in the code.
I don't, well, neither one of them are defined in the,
So that may
because
be
in the
where
code.
we need to take action and define them in the code. But what I'm saying is with the
Just
way the
remove
code
the
is
one
written,
completely and just have the 33 1/3, and it just all make sense.
but I'm having trouble with why we would do that.
Because
There's not a
we
problem.
need 33 1/3, otherwise there's 95 boats that are out of compliance. With their 20%, it's the same as a dock. You can't have a dock and a boat at your dock legally.
Okay,
That's
so
the
what
problem.
we're saying is that we have code and we have people in violation of the code, so we're just going to change the code.
No, we didn't have a problem until we changed it to the mooring ordinance, the same as the dock ordinance. We had no problem.
That's the basis of my recommendation, to make an amended motion to take this proposal. I would suggest strike the grandfather clause and send it to the planning board.
We need the grandfather.
Talking to, well, no, that's counter to what you just said. If this is 33%.
There's 2 or 3 people that need that grandfather.
Okay, fair enough. Let the planning board iron it out. My understanding is this is a significant development.
I'd be
People came and
interested in
went, and there was significant discussion around what they call pie-shaped lots, either external
All right, I
radius
think
or
we-
internal radius.
I think there's also a piece in it, I believe, where we talk about adjoining neighbor lots. I don't have any issues with that, with the walkways and the joint docks. I think, unless there's issues with that, that can go forward, but I'm good with sending back to the planning board. I think we need more thought on this.
Well, I don't think, okay. I think we can vote on this. We had a motion and a second.
So one more comment. On page 63, it does reference, I don't know if that was supposed to be the final track change version. It references the 40 feet and 33%. So I don't know if it's just a typo. It
No,
changed it.
we struck the 40 feet because it doesn't work.
No, I understand that. On the red line, it says that. But on the final version on page
Still
63,
shows.
it says 40 and 33. So I don't know whatever gets
What
approved
section are
tonight.
you talking about?
Stand by. It's, in this rolling agenda, it looked like the final version that I call with no
Section
track
what?
changes on. 515,
Section what?
And,
Paragraph what?
515C. 515C, it's page, but
Where is it on my paper here?
page 63.
There isn't page 63 on my paper.
I can't
So
help.
what section?
Look at electronic. 515.
Well, this is 515.
Hear me out. There's a version here with track changes on. There's a version with track changes off.
This is one with the.
It's in
all
the
on.
second version with track changes. I don't know if it makes a
40
difference
feet.
legally, but all I'm telling you is the version that does not have track changes on says 40 and 33. If you're looking at electronically, it's on page 63.
Yeah, I see it too.
I wish somebody showed it to me.
You probably don't have both versions. This is, you know what track changes are in Word when you can show what the, this is no
That's
markup
right
show.
before 328. Hold on. Okay, so where is it? Then it's right here, right? Right in here somewhere.
Yeah,
40
right
feet.
there, 40 feet, 33 and a half. So it looks like we adopted the percentage, but not the hard limit of NA, 40
Shall
going
not
NA.
project into waterway
That's my
more than
point.
40 feet, or
'cause if
30,
you-
whichever is less.
Right.
It
and
means
both
if
of those-
your,
Okay, so-
if your
Hang on.
canal is
That's-
200 feet, you can still
No,
only
it's-
go
So the
40
people in
feet.
scenario one just got nixed 10 feet, so I don't think that's what you
I
want.
think this needs cleaned up. I
40
agree with
feet
you. I've
wasn't
talked with
supposed
the
to be in
city development services, I've talked with folks, and we don't have complaints. We don't have a driver for this. I think this needs to go back to the planning board
have
and,
complaints.
one, be cleaned up. Two, I think it needs to be thought through more. We don't have a conflict.
Becky, the
We
40
don't have a
feet's not in there,
driver.
right?
I
sorry?
agree with you earlier.
40 feet's not in there,
Changing
right?
for the sake of change doesn't make sense.
It says 40 feet. Okay, yeah. Shall not project in waterway more than 40 feet. It doesn't matter how wide it,
That was supposed to be
or
stricken.
33% of the.
I'm fine with that version, but I'm not fine with the first version that's track changes. So you tell me which one we're voting on.
Well, the one is supposed to be without the hard limit.
Okay, which section are we referring to here?
Section 515, stopping, parking, and mooring and towing.
Becky, are you looking at the electronic
Number
packet?
C.
I'm trying to,
Page 63.
okay, this, yeah, that's not, I'm not quite sure why that was put in there, because what we're looking at is the ordinance,
Read
which is.
us what that section, the first sentence in section C reads and what we're voting on.
Okay, 515?
Becky, if I might, Mayor Commissioner, I'm looking at the ordinance here, and 3 reads as follows. A moored vessel and combination of a moored vessel and pier, slip, dock, boathouse, or boat shelter shall not project into any waterway no more than the 40 feet is struck.
Okay.
And it says 33 1/3%, and the 20% is struck of the width of the waterway,
Okay.
period.
That's what we're
Whichever is
voting on.
less is struck.
All right.
So index forward 6 pages, and that is not what's in there. All I'm asking is which one are we voting on? The track changes version
I'm
or
going
the
with,
accepted version?
I'm going with what he
I don't want
just
that on
said.
record.
You're,
You okay with that?
we
Carol?
are voting on the track changes one, because that's the actual ordinance, and I'm not quite sure why the copy from Unicode was stuck in there, except that I guess that was what it used to be.
Okay, all right, I think we got it.
So the one he just
That fixes that problem.
I think we're unnecessarily congesting our waterways to fix a problem we don't have.
So I made a,
Any other public comment? All right, let's vote. We got a motion and a second.
I got a motion, amendment motion. I didn't get a second.
Second.
And that would be to kick this to the planning board with the recommendation to pull the grandfather clause out.
Okay, so
Okay, I
you
thought we
need
had
to have a vote on the motion to amend. If you want to amend the motion, you need to vote on that first. And then if that
We
fails,
have to
then you
vote
go
on it
back.
because there's a second.
Okay, but.
There was a second, yes,
Right.
here.
So vote on the amended motion.
On the amended motion that he just,
Yes.
So
Okay.
a no vote on that would still allow us to come back and vote on.
And do the original motion,
all right.
yeah.
So a vote on Jeremy's amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, all right, so that failed.
What was the vote?
That was his amended,
It failed 3-2?
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
it failed.
So now you had a,
The regular motion.
okay, he's got a motion for the regular.
And you got a roll call it.
Okay. So I got it second?
We already have.
I think, yeah, I
All
think
right,
it
we
was
got a
already
second,
Already
okay.
seconded.
Let's do a roll call on it as he just read it.
Commissioner Jackson.
No.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Willis.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hutchison.
No.
Mayor Sheehy.
Yes.
Passes. 3-2.
Well, nobody can accuse us of all being colluding together on.
I just wanted to let the mayor moor his boat at my house, because I've got 67 feet.
Now that makes people think we
Now that he has
intentionally
grandfathered
divided
in,
on this.
he can exceed the 50 feet.
30 feet.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
School night.
Stop, story time will skip.
General public comment.
No, we haven't, we've got another
one more
item.
business.
Oh, yeah.
Under new business,
Sorry.
new business, item 1, adopt ordinance 1687 on first reading, an ordinance of the city of Cocoa Beach, Florida, adopting a new Article 2, special budget funds, and a new section 2-11 of that Article 2, capital projects fund, of Chapter 2, administration, providing for the establishment and funding of a capital project fund of the Cocoa Beach Code of Ordinances, and providing for codification, conflict, severability, and an effective date. Representative, City Commission, recommendation, adopt.
I'm looking for the secret word that says, "We shall endeavor."
Yeah, you gotta go into the packet. It's in there.
No. But because by Tim's rules, if there's no motion, it just dies. But by Robert's rules, we have to send a message as to whether we affirmatively approved it or we affirmatively denied it to keep it from coming back, okay? So in Tim's rules, I make a motion to approve, even though I'm not gonna, I may not vote for it, but I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Let's,
The discussion is,
Discuss.
where does it say endeavor?
On the B.
11B.
Yeah, you gotta go into the,
Yeah, it says,
Each year during the budgeting process, the city commission shall consider funding of CPS.
I'm looking at the ordinance.
Each succeeding budget year, the city commission shall endeavor.
but will not be required
Is it spelled like the shuttle?
I
to
can live
budget
with that.
approximately 3%.
It's spelled like shuttle?
That's what I'm asking. I would love that.
Oh, you are? So just,
I don't have it.
okay.
I missed your comment, Commissioner.
I was gonna say, if it's spelled like the shuttle, that would be great. Orbital vehicle.
Okay. All right. Any
I have
public
comment.
any public comment on a,
We can't comment on anything we don't know if we don't hear what you.
yeah, so
Yeah, I wanted to
this is
comment
about, I really think that we should do a capital projects funds, because we do know we have some stuff coming up, especially a new fire station up north. We're gonna need to save some money for that. I'd rather not take bigger loans out than we need. Why not start saving now or endeavor to save now? We've already got some money that we can put aside to start it, and we can endeavor to grow that fund. I think it would be very beneficial And if at some point we decide this is not a fund that we want to do, we can always vote to not have it anymore.
It's a valiant endeavor.
We're not changing the language now.
Do you guys have any?
Yeah, I agree with 100% the concept. I just think we can achieve the same results in budgeting. My concern here is it's kind of in this special fund that similar thing with the ARPA. I 100% financially support the idea. I would prefer it be in the capital improvement plan so we can all see, the entire public can see when things are going to be spent. If things get delayed, they get kicked out, so it's not just this secret fund. That's my concern. I'll vote for it, but I think we can achieve it. Talking to Patricia, and congrats Patricia on the assistant city manager designation.
We could have
talking to her, I think we can accomplish the same goal.
We could have done this 10 years ago.
Totally.
But we never did. So this is taking a step to keep us more accountable to try to do this. This is why I want to do it, so that we know and so that the residents know we're trying to be more fiscally responsible with their money. And I think this is a good step in trying to show that.
I'm going to prove it. Like I said, I think I see it differently. I think we can have better visibility if it's in the CIP plan.
You have anything you want to say about it?
Either option works. Either option gets you to the same end goal. What Commissioner Hutcherson was talking to me about is you can actually put those into the CIP budget. That's your 5-year look forward to the cost of future capital. You can budget, to your point, $500 a year for a 5-year period with the anticipation of you just carry them forward. So it's 500 in year 1, and then it becomes $1 million in year 2 and $1.5 million in year 3 towards a specific project. And that's what Commissioner Hutchinson was saying. You could specifically say what you are saving for that specific project. What the Mayor Capizzi is saying is not identifying a specific capital project, but simply saying that we know there's going to be capital needs, there's going to be capital costs. For example, the alarm system that just came up, it's $95,000 that was not necessarily known at the budget period, but this unidentified capital kind of funds that the mayor's talking about setting aside would be able to address that. So either option kind of achieves the same end purposes. It's just slightly different on how you would utilize it.
So is it truly an either or? Could we not do both where we intentionally set aside whether we have a project or not, which I think is kind of the spirit here, but then if we do have projects, we could specifically call our shots for those projects, and the two marry up well, kind of similar to what John Patera had suggested.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So that we could do both?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
We do both, because we have a 5-year capital improvement plan.
Yeah.
And that's where we put the knowns.
Yeah, so I don't think these are in conflict.
We accomplished this already. I mean, just by doing what you said, we accomplish it, that they've already planned when we're doing the capital projects.
Right.
It's not, unless something drastic comes up, that's what we got reserves for, but
Why didn't we do that with City Hall?
we did. That was in the 5-year plan.
Well, how come we got to take a loan out then?
Because we didn't get the grant. We voted on a $4 million grant, and we lost it.
It's the same thing is going to be with this.
So the scenario we're going through with drawing from ARPA funds is exactly what's going to happen. We're saying, oh, this is key over here, let's draw from that. And it's going to be strong on, it's going to be an emergency.
Mayor, while Patricia's still up there. How much is budgeted in the 5-year capital improvement plan for the new fire station up north?
It's in here, $5 million?
I don't know if it's in there at the moment, but the last I heard was, around 5 million.
In what?
So $5 million in 2025 for design planning. I'm assuming that's actual fabrication though. It's labeled design planning.
We have it budgeted, or we're going to take a loan out for that?
No, that's just saying we're going to expend $5 million.
Capital improvement.
No,
The funding source is different.
That means that we have to do something between now and approving that to either figure out a way to fund it or cut it.
Right, because
And the loans they find are so low interest that
It's almost better to table.
Not right now.
So what she's, what Keith's saying is, well, the new fire station up north is known for 15 years. And been getting more urgent by the year. So shame on me, I've been here 15 years for not putting money aside.
That's what I'm trying to do here. That's all I'm trying to do. Let's put money aside for our projects.
Yeah, I don't.
Mr. Wills had a great idea the last time, is where's this coming from? We already cut stuff, it's not, money's not just gonna come in. We're
If we
growing
don't
rate,
make a
we're growing
fund-
tax base, or we're cutting services.
I might not be here next year. You might not be here next year. You're not gonna be here next year. If we don't,
Stuck holding the bag?
you're stuck here holding the bag. If we don't put money aside, if we don't designate this, then who knows what next commission's gonna wanna do? They might say, hey, we don't care about budgeting
I
that.
agree with the financial, I just
So-
don't think it's necessary. I'll vote for it. but-
Well, I made the argument that if you did build it up to 5 million and you didn't have, and you were covering all your capital improvement plan things for your known knowns, that a new commission could come up and say, you know, we could put up a $5 million water park, because there's $5 million and we don't know what to do with it.
So vote wisely.
Well, okay, so any other public comments then, now that you've heard what we're talking about?
Rick Anderson, 1800 Minuteman Causeway. I'm just wondering how you can use the word endeavor and then turn around and call it an ordinance, because using the word endeavor just makes it a resolution. So I'm having an issue with that. The other thing I'm having an issue with is what becomes defined as a capital project versus repairing something or replacing something that's just worn out. Now, I understand the case of a building, an alarm system, it's just a worn-out alarm system. Is that a capital expenditure? So I'm just wondering how capital expenditures are going to be defined going forward. I agree 100% with you, Mr. Mayor, 1,000%. But I just have problems with the definition of it. And once you put the word endeavor in there, I don't understand how it can take the status of an ordinance.
So the capital project, she did actually define it. It's not actually for repairing broken stuff on other capital projects. It's for new capital projects or rebuilding capital projects. And then the endeavor means that we put it in our budget and we consider that first, and then we work around that for our other stuff.
And what the ordinance actually does is it creates the fund. The fund's going to be there. Whether it is funded every year is up to y'all during the budget process. So it is appropriate to be in an ordinance as opposed to a resolution.
I mean, in the requirements in the engineering world, it's an objective versus a threshold. And to me, exactly what Rick's saying is what's, the objective, we all say we should achieve this, but the threshold, what we absolutely have to achieve. I'll vote for it.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Tim looks like he really wants to say something.
Public comment, we hadn't closed public comment. Tim Tumulty, Cocoa Beach. I just really don't even know where to start. One, Commissioner Hutchinson's, you don't like it, but you're going to vote for it. I just don't understand that at all. We have reserves that we need to support for our city in case we have hurricanes and whatnot. That goes on. You'll say, oh, I don't want to raise millage, I don't want to tax people, yet I'm going to pull $100,000 a year off for capital improvements for something. I don't know what. I'm not going to name it because I want to be able to decide what to do with that money later on. Well, you may or may not be here. I may or may not be here. Someone's going to be here, and they're going to spend that money on whatever they want, not on what maybe you want it to be or anyone else here wants it to be. When I'm saving money in a savings account, yeah, I do that as home. That's a budget. That's a different kind of thing than the city. The vast majority, I would bet the vast majority of the people here have loans on their home. Maybe you don't. Maybe a couple of you don't out here, but the majority do. Is it right for all of us now to pay for the next 50 years of capital improvements? Or is it the responsibility of the residents that live here for the next 50 years to pay for those capital improvements in which they are languishing in? Do you understand what I'm saying there? Is that if you do get a loan, like we're doing for the city, for City Hall and various capital improvements, it's being paid for by the people that are using them going forward in the future, not the people in the past.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, I have another minute left. And I may just stand here. I'm not sure. But, you know, y'all ran on not raising taxes, yet you want to pull money aside for who knows what. Well, we know what, kind of. But
Yeah, we have a $5 million fire station coming up.
Which I voted no for. Don't
So,
say I raised
okay.
taxes. So we have a $4 million hole. We did not get the grant that everyone was based on that city hall on. So that's a $4 million hole you're already in. If you're trying to create a more hole.
And I personally don't want to spend my
I'll make it
kids'
crystal
money.
clear.
I'd rather leave something for them less of a hole. I didn't want to come into $40 million in debt because that's not how I run my household. So if I'm here,
$40 million, it's managed the way it was planned out. It wasn't just plopped on there.
it's managed.
So, I mean, sometimes you just gotta keep the money you have and pay as you go to sustain what you have now. So where's this $500,000? Like I said last time, like, where's this $500,000 gonna come from? What are we skimping on? What are we cutting to get that? I think we should pay more attention to the reserves and
We're doing that
have the
too.
CFO
The
manage.
reserves are for operation,
Yeah.
not for capital. And the 500K came from this gentleman over here that was able to consolidate roles.
What are we cutting besides that, though?
He's operating in a city with less people. That's what funded the initial. So great job.
I mean,
city manager.
are we gonna be able to do that every year? Yeah, that's.
We're going to endeavor
so
to.
I just don't see how we can do that every year, so.
Well,
when we go pencils down on the budget and the millage rate,
Mhm.
there either is gonna be $500,000 in this fund, or there's gonna be zero,
That's right.
okay?
I mean,
We're going
It's just
to,
an
everybody's
account-
scared about
if it's
raising the
not set
millage
aside,
rate.
we're
Are
going to
we-
spend it. We're going to spend it. Unless we set it aside for something, we're going to figure out where we could spend it, and it won't be there next year. I'll tell you that.
don't tax the people 500,000.
I'm not raising taxes. That's not what I'm planning on doing.
You guys are gonna learn. It's not that easy to just say it.
I'm voting for it because it's not a hard requirement. It's a great reminder for
Yeah.
all of us to do our due diligence, be fiscally responsible, spend these folks' dollar wisely. If it's not holding us to the fire, so I'm going to vote for it.
Any other public comment? And then I'm going to close it.
Let me ask you.
Janice Scott, Cocoa Beach. Well, you know, this is always my favorite subject, is how much money we get to spend in Cocoa Beach. And my comment in recent times was about, I don't want to be paying for people 20 years from now. I'm not going to be around here 20 years from now, and I feel like I've paid my share. But maybe the time has come, and I know everybody loves this, to start thinking about unincorporating or incorporating from Port to Patrick. The amount of money that is discussed here to manage 4 square miles, it's sinful, absolutely sinful. And it's not your fault, you're not all mismanaging it, but it's just, you know, if you lived anywhere else in the world, it would just be, nobody would believe it. So we have 3 administrative overheads for basically less than 12 miles, 12 linear miles. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. All right, we got a motion, oh, you want to? Yeah, close, public comments closed. Thank you.
Commissioner Hutcherson made a statement, and this is my ignorance. We can't use reserves on anything but operating expenses. That's the case?
That's for the emergency reserves that we have now.
Well, I think,
don't
the context I was referencing that is we voted to up the percentage in reserves, but that was for the operations side to maintain. So we're going to up it a percentage every year. I think it's at 19 now, Patricia. That's not the capital side. That's just to keep the city running. If we get hit with a hurricane, we got 6 months. Next year we'll have 7 months, whatever that math trigs out to. So that's just the operational side.
Do we have similar capital reserves already?
Yeah, you're at 19% for emergency damage recovery, and then you're at 2% for just your operational reserves. So that's just having best practices that you have. The preferred is 6 months of reserves just to have to cover operational costs. So what we do to calculate those reserves is we look at the total personnel operating, not include capital, to calculate the 2%.
Going on to make that keep growing, that percentage keep growing?
Up to, I think it was up to 6%. So it'd be 19% for your disaster recovery and an additional 5 or 6% for just operational.
So we're already pulling money off the top of our
And that's,
income.
that's your sort of protective measures to ensure that we always have what we need to maintain operations. Anything above that can be used to balance the budget.
But we don't have a form of reserve in a non-emergency situation that goes toward a firehouse or a capital investment? Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't talking about doing
It's either committed, restricted, or unassigned.
And that was the basis of John Batero's comment. He says, don't run on having unallocated reserves because you won't be up here next election. That was his comment.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor of this ordinance?
Needs to be a roll call.
Oh, yeah, no, this is first reading.
First reading.
We're coming back on this.
First reading.
Yeah, this is first reading.
Coming back.
Did you get no votes?
So I was gonna say, all in favor of this ordinance?
On first reading.
Yeah, on first reading, aye.
Aye.
Nay.
All opposed was nay, so motion passes 4-1, first reading. All right, any general public comment? All right, meeting adjourned.